dog kept staring at the wall for days, so his owner set up a hidden camera, but what it recorded was shocking. Emily Harris was 29 and was living with her dog Rocky, but one day things changed. Harris came home from work and expected Rocky to greet her like always. Instead, the dog just stood still and stared at the wall. He didn't move, bark, or respond to his name. Harris got worried. She shouted, petted him, even crouched down beside him, but Rocky just kept staring at the wall. Rocky suddenly stopped and looked at Harris, wagging his tail. Harris thought it was nothing, but later that night around midnight, she saw Rocky doing it again, staring sadly at the same spot on the wall. This time it felt different. Something was clearly wrong. The next morning, Harris went out and bought a night vision camera. She set it up in the living room to see what was going on while she was gone. What the camera showed left her speechless. Emily Harris never expected her life to change because of a dog staring at a wall. But now, with Rocky at her side and the tiny kitten she had rescued from inside the wall, everything in her house felt different. She named the kitten Luna, a soft name that seemed to fit her bright, curious eyes. At first, Emily thought Luna would remain timid and hidden, but the kitten quickly surprised her. Within a few days, she was darting across the living room, climbing the curtains, and pouncing on Rocky's wagging tail as though she had always belonged there. Rocky didn't mind. In fact, he seemed happier than ever. Every time Luna curled up on his back or tucked herself under his ear to nap, Rocky's eyes softened and his tail thumped gently against the floor. But even with this warmth filling the home, Emily couldn't shake a strange thought. How did a kitten end up inside her wall? She replayed the moment again and again, thinking of the loose wooden panel, the hollow behind it, and the dust that clung to Luna's fur. It didn't seem accidental. The wall cavity was deep, hidden, almost as though someone had placed the kitten there. But who would do such a thing? And why? At night, when she sat in the quiet of her home, she found herself glancing at that spot on the wall, wondering if there were other secrets tucked away behind the plaster. A week later, Emily noticed Rocky standing at the wall again. Her heart jumped. At first, she thought maybe he was remembering the kitten, but his stance was different this time. His ears were up, body tense, eyes fixed. He let out a low whine, then barked once, sharp and urgent. Emily rushed over and crouched down, pressing her palm against the panel where Luna had once been. The wood felt cool beneath her hand, but she swore she felt a faint vibration, almost like something moving deep inside. She grabbed a torch from the drawer and shone it into the opening, but it was empty now, just hollow space. Still, Rocky barked again, pacing in small circles as if urging her to act. Emily called her neighbor, Mr. Carter, an older man who had lived in the neighborhood for more than 40 years. He came with his toolkit, curious about the situation. Together, they pried open a larger section of the wall. Dust poured out and Emily coughed, covering her mouth with her sleeve. Behind the wood was a narrow crawl space, dark and silent, stretching further than she expected. Mr. Carter frowned, muttering that the space wasn't on any building plan he had ever seen. He told Emily to be careful and not to go exploring alone. He sealed the hole for now, promising to come back with proper gear to check it out. That night, however, Emily lay awake, unable to stop thinking about it. Rocky slept at her feet, and Luna purred softly against her pillow, but her mind wandered into the darkness behind that wall. Finally, close to midnight, she slipped out of bed, pulled on her hoodie, and tiptoed into the living room. She grabbed the torch again and returned to the wall. Rocky followed instantly, his nails clicking on the wooden floor, and Luna, half asleep, trailed behind, letting out a small meow. Emily knelt down and gently pushed on the panel Mr. Carter had replaced. To her surprise, it shifted slightly. Her curiosity outweighed her fear. She pried it open again, revealing the crawl space. The air that drifted out was damp, carrying a faint smell of earth and something metallic. She aimed the torch inside. The narrow passage extended deeper than she had imagined, and at the far end, something glimmered faintly. Rocky barked once, startling her, then wagged his tail, pushing his nose toward the hole. Emily hesitated, But then she set the torch between her teeth and crawled inside, ignoring the way her hands collected dust and her knees scraped against the rough floor. Rocky followed right behind her, squeezing in despite his size. The crawl space opened into a small chamber. Emily's torchlight fell on the source of the glimmer, an old tin box, rusted but intact. She reached for it, her heart pounding, and carefully dragged it out into the center of the chamber. Rocky sniffed it furiously, wagging his tail. Emily pried it open, and inside she found stacks of old photographs, brittle letters tied with ribbon, and a pocket watch engraved with initials she didn't recognize. The photographs were black and white, some faded almost beyond recognition. They showed her house, but not as she knew it. There was no paint on the walls, no modern furniture, just bare rooms with people standing stiffly in old-fashioned clothes. One photo made her freeze. In it, a young boy was holding a kitten that looked eerily similar to Luna, down to the same distinct stripe across the nose. Emily's throat went dry. She pulled out the letters, her hands shaking. The handwriting was delicate, looping, written in ink that had bled slightly with age. She read the first line. "To whoever finds this, please take care of her. She is all I have left." Emily's chest tightened. She read further, piecing together fragments of a story about a family who had lived in the house nearly a century ago. The boy in the photo had lost his parents in an accident, and the kitten was his last companion. When neighbors threatened to take the kitten away, he hid her in the walls to protect her, leaving behind this note and these belongings. Emily sat in silence, staring at the box. She couldn't explain why, but Luna, curling into her lap, suddenly felt more than coincidence. She whispered the boy's name, written on the final letter, Elliot. The room felt colder, and for a brief second, Emily thought she heard a faint meow echo from deeper within the crawl space. Rocky growled softly, ears pinned back, his body leaning against her protectively. Emily decided she had to know more. The next morning, she took the letters and photos to the local library. The archivist, a kind woman named Mrs. Whitfield, helped her trace the family history. Sure enough, records showed that a boy named Elliot had once lived at her address, but after his parents' death, he had vanished from official records. No one knew what happened to him. Some believed he ran away. Others whispered about something more sinister. That night, Emily couldn't sleep. She sat in the living room with Rocky and Luna, the box of letters open on the table. She thought about Elliot, about his loneliness, about the way he had clung to his kitten the same way she now saw Luna clinging to Rocky. She wondered if Elliot had hidden more than just a kitten in those walls. The thought wouldn't leave her. Over the next week, strange things began happening in the house. Doors that Emily swore she had locked would creak open. Luna would suddenly dart across the room, chasing something invisible. Rocky would growl at empty corners, his eyes locked on the shadows. At night, Emily sometimes woke to faint scratching sounds inside the walls, though when she checked, there was nothing there. The atmosphere grew heavier, as if the house itself was holding its breath. One evening, as a storm raged outside, Emily sat with the box of photographs spread out before her. A sudden crack of thunder made Luna leap into Rocky's fur. But Emily's eyes were fixed on one particular photo. She leaned closer, her hands trembling. In the background of the photo, behind the boy and his kitten, there was a faint figure, tall, blurred, almost shadow-like. She had missed it before, but now, under the lamplight, it was clear. Someone else had been in the house with them. Emily's chest tightened. She felt watched. Slowly, she turned her head toward the wall. Rocky was already staring at it again, his ears low, his tail stiff. Luna hissed softly, arching her back. Emily whispered, almost to herself, "Elliot?" The lights flickered. In that moment, she realized Rocky hadn't just saved Luna. He had uncovered a secret buried in her home, a story that had been waiting decades to be told, and perhaps a presence that wasn't ready to be forgotten. and as the storm roared outside, Emily knew this was only the beginning.